You know that since the history of movies, there's only been 10,000 movies made? That's not much when you think about it.
Hello, how's it going? I want to talk about why franchises are dying. Not really. I want to talk about everybody's favorite franchise, the one with all the big action stars, all the heroes and their weaponry and their futuristic stuff fighting against interdimensional beings. That's right, we're talking about the Avengers. So, in the event... No, wait. 2024. Ghostbusters? We're talking about Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, the catchiest title that they could think of. This isn't really a criticism, this video isn't exactly oh, this movie sucked, I want to shit talk it. I mean, not really. The film was fine. Like, I didn't praise it highly, I didn't even really praise it at all. It's just kind of meh, you know? But I do want to talk about it in terms of as franchise cinema, I guess, and contrast it as well to Monarch Legacy of Monsters. You know that Godzilla show that they made almost like 10 years too late? The one that they only really greenlight because Godzilla vs. Kong turned out to be financially successful, and they're like, well, I guess we're continuing with this franchise, so let's do a series that explains what happens in the years between, well, technically in the build-up to Kong Skull Island, all the way to present day, or at least in the show it's like 2013. So that's great. But the idea I want to talk about in this video is how these IPs have the potential to have a lot of fun with their ideas, have a lot of fun with their universes, but instead just decide to go with the most, like, well, how do I call, again, franchise heavy kind of stuff. Like, Monarch is heavy on the lore. It's about the time period, it's about the lore, understanding the monsters, but not really. It's about understanding Monarch. What is Monarch as a thingy? And I understand that. There's, a lot of questions from fans, and even really myself, because I'm a decent fan of the series. I mean, like, I do like myself some Godzilla, and I do like King Kong. And I did watch the show, even though it was kind of boring during the first couple of episodes, but I did, binge the rest, because I got bored and waited till it ended, so I binged it all. And it was a show that, like, had the, almost, not really, but kind of had the promise of, what if we just had adventures and fun? How do I determine it the best way possible? I think even the latest Avatar live-action adaptation kind of did something similar, where instead of it being focused on just people having fun with an overarching story and aim that they have to achieve, and every episode they're having fun, going on mini adventures, that kind of stuff. It's fun, look, airbending, waterbending, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the show, they have to fight the big bad guy. But they've built up to it. That works, But in this show, it's all about, how, no, it's serious. We're not going to do the fun stuff. It's all about getting to the end point immediately. We're going to do that now. We're going to have the payoff. And so something like Monarch is a show that I was like, this could have been a show where it was just people hanging out, and then they, like, discover a new monster each week. Something maybe X-Files like, where you've got Monster of the Week, in this case a literal giant bloody kaiju, and then maybe the other two episodes are more mystery things, or like examining like the history of Monarch and stuff like that. Just like having some fun with it. It was a disappointment upon watching Monarch and being like, oh, so this isn't just every episode we're gonna, like, examine a different monster and understand how they work within the universe and see how it slowly builds into this gradual realization that, giant monsters can potentially destroy the world, and it maybe is building up to the 2014 Godzilla film. Instead, they don't do that. It's a flashback show. It's half set in 2013 and half set in the past, in like the, basically, I'd say 60s, I think. Yeah, it's after World War II, maybe 50s, 60s period. Probably 50s, I think. I can't remember. But the fun of the comparison is you get Wyatt Russell and Kurt Russell playing the same character, something that had never been done before, which is kind of funny. But still, it's like, it takes so long to get things going. You're like, what exactly is going on here? Like, it's never here's the flat out how it's going to happen, not a slow build up. It's too slow build up, you know? And again, it's not every week there's a different monster that they have to fight or anything. It's nothing like that. There's no fun, no adventure. It's just a serious show. We're taking this seriously. And I'm like, I get it. It fits the tone of the 2014 Godzilla film, which I love that film. But have fun with it. My god, the previous thing we saw was Godzilla and Kong fight on a fucking boat. What more could you ask for? But let's contrast this to Ghostbusters, because in the latest Ghostbusters film, which I actually didn't really begrudgingly see, I just was like, I kind of want to see it. Like, I didn't hate Afterlife, but it's not a good film, but it's like, it didn't dissuade me from not wanting to see another film. It was more of I want to see another film where they're actually fighting ghosts, and not goddamn Gozer. So I went out of my way to go watch the film. It's $12 a ticket, which was very nice. And that's Australian dollars too, so it's very cheap. And it is a film that feels like a series of TV crammed into a 2-hour film. It's all these multiple characters, several subplots, one overarching plot to do with this one big ancient demon dude who will freeze everything, hence the Frozen Empire title, hence all of the Frozen stuff that they've done with the movie promotion stuff. That happens at the end of the movie. It's not really, it's like, it's slowly built up to, sure, but still. And there's this element of the film that I'm thinking, the main criticism I've been seeing from a lot of people outside of it being just it's kind of a Blair film, you know. You watch it, you're like, wow, movie, and then you leave and you forget about it and you keep going with your life. You don't think, man, that Ghostbusters film, I really liked when this thing happened. I don't have anything to say about that with Frozen Empire. Nothing at all makes me think, oh wow, I was so happy when that guy became a firebender. Like, none of it was interesting to me. I'm like, this is stuff that, like, is so Marvel-esque in the generic franchise property stuff. Here's stuff in, like, that helps a subplot, but mostly is oh, we're gonna do a big thing over there later on, you know. Even the latest specials for Doctor Who did something similar, where they were like, oh, here's not S.H.I.E.L.D., that's Marvel, but like, here's UNIT and their new HQ and it's all modern and fancy, but we're not really going to focus on it. That's for the later season. And here's all these big bad guys, but they're not really that important. We're gonna wait for the later season to like discuss all that. Like, nothing really hits immediately. There's no individual like fun with it. And that's why I feel like with something like Ghostbusters, they're so focused on the idea of doing the franchise thing. Every film has to have all the characters, and they have to fight a big bad guy at the end, and all this bullshit. And all these little things that get you to the one spot. It basically is a summarized version of a Stranger Things series, which is not a good thing, because I don't like Stranger Things. So to have a whole season of Stranger Things being wrapped up into 2 hours, which is actually not bad, but also basically just that, you know, disconnect half the characters. Maybe there's a dramatic thing that makes them disconnect. You know, one character does something that upsets other characters. They don't speak for half the film. They have to come back at the very end, you know, defeat the giant bad guy and then be like, it's okay, we forgive you for being a stupid idiot. You know, you helped us kill the bad guy, even if you kind of caused it yourself. You know, generic movie plot 101. And it's just like, maybe, what if you had, I don't know, sure, you still had McKenna Grace. You had her, whatever her character's name is, and she and her brother going with, I was going to say, I think it's Ray, yeah, the Dan Aykroyd's character. Maybe they just go on a trip with him. Maybe he's just like, hey, you know, there's this place in the, you know, upper state New York that happens to be haunted. Let's go figure out what's going on there. Like, we've been contacted to do this. We've been waiting all these years for the Ghostbusters to come back, because maybe the Ghostbusters just happened to end when, you know, when there's like, oh, we got all this haunting stuff happening. Oh, too bad the Ghostbusters have like gone broke or whatever, so we can't call them. And so they're like, oh, the Ghostbusters are back now. Let's call them. It's been 30 odd years. Let's do that. So they call them over. They, you know, just like, oh, it's just a haunted mansion. It'll be nothing. And then it becomes this like terrifying event of just like all these ghosts and specters, all maybe controlled by one big dude that's like in a haunted house. Again, a haunted house thing. Think Luigi's Mansion, some shit like that, you know? Just do that, but with Ghostbusters. Doesn't have to have a large cast. They don't need to have a huge dramatic arc. Just let them have fun. Or fucking do a TV series of this kind of stuff. Like, that's what Frozen Empire felt like. It felt like, again, a condensed TV show. Just give them a series. You can have all these arcs play out over time. You can have one big overarching enemy if you really fucking want to. You really shouldn't. Films should not be this. They should just be people hanging out, catching ghosts. Lo and behold, there's a huge dude who happens to be a godlike entity or something that we got to deal with. Like, it's not hard, you know? But of course, the regular people, the general audiences, they don't want that. They don't want something that's fun and entertaining. They want bland and something they can just throw money at. Here's $20 plus an extra $15 for popcorn. You know, wow, wasn't that fun? I like the part where it was loud, and then you leave, and then you go to sleep, and you wake up the next day and you go to work, and then you get hit by a truck. And the last film you have ever seen is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and you will have no idea that you watched it because you would have forgotten it by the time you left the movie cinema. So, yeah, that was a bit dark of me, wasn't it? But it's just that kind of thing of like these IPs. I feel like it could really utilize the idea of just do a fun little bit, just do a gimmick, you know. Have a couple characters have to deal with this, you know. They go on a little adventure. Look, monsters. Like think of the the Showa era Godzilla films. Which by themselves are very standalone, and most of the time is just people hanging out, living life. Suddenly, big monster, they kind of have to deal with it, whether because it destroys their house or because they've built a robot that happens to be able to control it, or something. They're a journalist, they're an army person, something like that, and it's just a big monster. Oh, well, we've also got this other stuff going on, so we're going to kind of like investigate and continue our lives, but also giant monster fights are happening in the background. I feel like the 2014 film really did it well. But like do that on a smaller scale, you know? You could do that with Ghostbusters. It doesn't need to be end of the world stuff. I mean, with Kaiju it kind of does, realistically, because it's gigantic monsters. But at the same time, Godzilla vs. Kong, did not do that. They were like, it wasn't really end of the world stuff. It was more of a just big monsters fighting in a big city, like the essence of, should we be concerned that there are giant monsters in the city? Let's just watch them destroy buildings. It doesn't matter. The impact of like this, the dramatic impact left years ago. Like once Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, there was no dramatic impact anymore. It's just big monsters shooting lasers at each other, and you just have fun with it, you know? It was only 2014's Godzilla that was actually like, we should be scared because giant monsters. You know, there was a human element to it. Something like Shin Godzilla and even -1 did. There's a human element to it. And with Ghostbusters, you don't have that. Like, I know that there's a big gripe against the movies because you look at the first one, it's just people starting a business. You know, one of them's a con man, one of them's a big into the, you know, ghost stuff. One of them happens to be a crazy scientist who comes up with all this, like, equipment to capture ghosts, and the other one just wants a paycheck. Like, that's the characters. And all they want to do is just have a job. Like, that's it. Like, you watch Ghostbusters, you watch Frozen Empire, and you realize that none of these people are doing a job. Like, you see them catch a ghost at the start of the film, and instead of it being like, we got to con these people into paying us so we can afford to live in New York, and instead it's just, nope, here's the mayor, that guy from the first film, look, he doesn't like the Ghostbusters. I know they don't actually have to pay for rent and whatever, because, like, Ernie Hudson's character has already bought the whole building, and, like, he is a rich millionaire, whatever, he's got his own business tycoon that he's stuff, like, vague stuff that's just enough to be like, just in case you want to criticize the film for not actually having the characters get paid, it's okay, he owns the building. It's like, cool. Does he pay them? What's the deal? Like, why are they doing this? They don't need to do this. Like, I know that the kids like doing it because it's like, this is cool. We're literally catching ghosts. This is awesome. But her mum, the mum doesn't give a shit. She doesn't want to do this stuff. She didn't want to do it in the first film. She didn't do it in the first film. She just became possessed by a dog. Paul Rudd's character, sure, he enjoys this kind of stuff, but he keeps reiterating in the film, it's like, I was just your science teacher. Now I'm a Ghostbuster. What are the odds? Like, they don't have, like, a calling for this. It's not really their thing. Like, they don't have, as characters, they don't feel like they have much of they need to do this to survive. This is their lifestyle now. It's like, it's just like a burden. Like, it's just in the family, we just gotta do it. And that's kind of what this film's about. It's kind of like how this shit's just a burden. Like, Kamal Nanjiani's character is literally a firebender, and it's because it's a family trait. It's a genetic thing. He has to defeat the bad guy because it's forced upon him because of his lineage. Like, he has no choice. And these guys, the Ghostbusters, have no choice, I guess. They just gotta capture these ghosts. Who else is gonna do it? I don't know. Apparently, all these other people in a big building that's, like, up the road, but we're not going to talk about that. It's not important. They're not really catching ghosts. They just kind of are, but not telling anyone. Yeah, it's just one of those things where a franchise is the IP, the people in control of it, the producers and whatever, are so focused on making the most generic, safe bet thing for everyone that they don't think of, what if we had fun and split this up? Like, think of Jurassic World. Despite the fact I don't care for those films, first film played it safe as hell. The second film was almost like it wanted to be two different films and merge them together. What if we had, environmentalist save the island or save the dinosaurs movie because island's going to explode volcano. But then the second half is haunted house film set in the mansion. Sure, there's a stupid undercurrent of clones, but for the majority you've got two different movies that are at least, they're okay. But, like, you got two good concepts. Save dinosaurs from exploding island, dinosaur haunted mansion. Like, that sounds fun. But unfortunately, it's written by Colin Trevorrow, so it sucks. Was it directed by him as well? I can't even remember. So it's one of those things where it's like, that at least had something else to it, but at the same time, these are also characters that I don't give a shit about. They shouldn't be in this circumstance or this situation. Doesn't really matter to me. Like, it doesn't interest me. At least with the Ghostbusters, it's like, they're just people catching ghosts. Like, they don't need to have a dramatic involvement to it. This is our job. We're getting paid to clean out this mansion that's full of ghosts. Let's do it. Why is this vacuum turning on by itself? Let's make an innuendo because Dan Aykroyd's character got sucked off by a ghost in one of the films. But, like, I don't know, have fun with it. And, like, again, with the Godzilla thing, it's like that. I feel like that's what Monarch could have been. It didn't have to be big, gigantic monsters like with Godzilla himself, but, like, something like the smaller ones, like the stuff on Kong Island. Kong Island, Skull Island. It's that kind of thing of, like, you could have these, big monsters. They do discover a couple. One that's like a dragon, and one that lives in the Antarctic or whatever, the Himalayas, wherever they go. But it's just that kind of thing of, it's just kind of like there has to be a monster just to make it interesting. Like, they go to a big ship, it has some stuff that's cool, and then, oh look, there just happens to be a giant monster here. Like, sure, it's the reason why the boat was there, but, like, realistically, like, it just happens to be there. They're not, like, sneaking in knowing that there's a big monster and they got to get something out from underneath it. Like, it's Smaug in a mountain or some shit. And the same thing goes for when they're in the Himalayas. It just happens to be that there's a big monster that happened to destroy a previous plane where they land. So it's like, and even like the third time when they first see Godzilla, it just happens to be that the guy, not really happens, they stumble upon the guy that they're looking for, and it so happens to be that he's found Godzilla, and he's like, you guys gotta get out of here, I'm about to wake up Godzilla. So yeah. I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, I would like to see just small little adventures, Then you can have, like, think of what Marvel does, and though they have it based on each film has to be about a character or a team, they have their adventures at least. Like, that's at least a beneficial thing. I think something that they did well enough, even though I don't care for them anymore, they did it well enough that, like, each film was an individual adventure. It's still wrapped into the main universe, which was obviously cleverly done, whatever the crap. But, like, they at least had that benefit of they were just fun films centered around the character and an adventure that they go on. You know, if it needs to be a big end of the world thing, then it happens to be hopefully in a bigger picture, but realistically it never really is. Or at least it isn't anymore. And that's what Ghostbusters is. Ghostbusters is like each one of these is a tentpole, but there's no anything in between. It's just end of the world, end of the world. And have any of these films been not about the end of the world? Like Gozer, whatever the guy in the second film's called, was he even trying to end the world? I don't even remember. I just know he likes slime a lot. And I do think that it's a better film than what the third and fourth film are, but they're still Afterlife, End of the World. It just Gozer again. Fourth film, End of the World. It's the frozen dude, you know? Or is it even End of the World? No one dies. Like, the whole city freezes, and they're just like, look, there's people outside in their board shorts because, lo and behold, it's the middle of summer. You know? It's bizarre. So, yeah, that's just my thoughts on how these... Like, I don't mind where the Godzilla's thing is headed. I do think, realistically, the show did what it needed to do in terms of building Monarch as a thing. The problem is that where are these characters going to appear again? Are they going to appear in one of the later films? Because they haven't so far. And are they going to appear in Season 2? Clearly. But also, what do they do now? When they hit Season 2, it's like, oh, it's been a couple years, but... realistically, nothing's changed. I guess, are they going to just hunt monsters, or are they going to... I don't know. Is Season 2 going to be they're hunting monsters now because we're all caught up in the present? If that's what Season 2 is, then they like that's a good direction. Just do that. You know, we're building up to, like, King of the Monsters. Just, you know, have fun with it. Oh, big monsters. Whatever. I don't know. What does it matter? Anyway, but yeah, Ghostbusters is just... it just should just be people hanging out and then, oh, look, there's some ghosts. But, like, more ghosts than what we get in Frozen Empire. Like, it sucks that even when all the ghosts break out of the containment unit, they're just the most generic-looking things possible. You have Slimer, who is iconic, sure, and has this creepy-ass human-looking hand. Bad idea. But at least you have Slimer. He doesn't do anything, and he's not relevant to the plot, but he wasn't relevant to the plot in the first one. He was just a ghost that they had to capture. Just do more of that. I don't fucking know, man. But again, center it in something so it's not too broad, because New York City is too big. Limit it to a small place, again, like a haunted mansion or something. I don't know. And then you can have your temple thing of, oh, we've uncovered another Sumerian god who wants to possess everyone's penis or something. I don't know. Don't listen to me, Sony. I have no ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the recent Ghostbusters film, and if you like Godzilla. Or at least the modern Monsterverse. Let me know down below, and see you next time. Adios.